work yesterday was much better. Just making sure that you count accurately. Okay? Now the thing is it's not going to go away that you're going to have to graph points. Okay? It's a fact of life that you're going to have to plot points. So we have to get good at it. So today we're going to move on to the next one of reflections. And reflections, a lot of times they talk about a mirror image. So let's fill in our note sheet. A reflection is a mirror image of the original figure. It is the result of a transformation of a figure over a line called the line of reflection. In a reflection, each point of the pre-image, that's what you start with, and its image after you reflect it, are the same distance from the line of reflection. So in a reflection, the image is congruent. Same thing as always. If you start with a triangle, you're going to end with a triangle. Okay? You guys know reflections as a flip. You flip it over. The main pieces that we're going to flip it over are the x-axis and the y-axis. So we have to know the difference. We have to know the difference between the x-axis and the y-axis. And most of the time, your graphs are labeled. Okay? So this one right here says graph the reflection over the y-axis, then tell me the coordinates of the reflected image. Well, on your graph, do you see where y-axis is labeled? So my triangle DEF is currently on the right side. It's like folding your graph right here, and you're going to flip it over to the other side. So if you put your pencil on D, how far away from that y-axis is D? 1. It's 1 to the right. So when I flip it over, it's going to be 1 to the left. So go 1 on the other side, put a dot there, and guess what we're going to call it? Yep, D prime. D prime. Okay, from the y-axis, how far to the right is E? 4. Okay, so go back to the y-axis on the same level as E and count 4 in the other direction. Okay, so E right here, what I do is I'm trying to count to Y, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 gets me to the y-axis. Now I got to count because I'm going to flip it over. I got to count 4 on the other side. So now I restart. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Every letter that's on there, you're trying to get to the Y.
Over the Y. Yes, we got to move D, E, and F over that Y. Great question. Great question. Yep. Okay, so if I go to F, how many steps do I take to get to the y-axis? 2. You're here. 1, 2. So then how many steps do we go on the other side? 1, 2. Now we've reflected it. Now it should just look like a mirror image of that triangle. It's like I folded my paper right on that y-axis. Many of you are having really troubles counting those grid lines. When you set your pencil down at your starting point, you don't have a number there. That's like a 0. So don't count that. Just like when I was talking about moving E. I put my pencil here. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I got to go 4 on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now we have to write down these coordinates. D prime. Who can tell me where D prime is located? Courtney? Very good. Very good. -1, +4. Who can tell me E prime? Bryce? Ooh, careful. -4, 3. Good corrections. You knew right away. Good work. And who can tell me F prime? -2, 0. Nice job, Zayden. -2, 0. You guys always love to do things without the graph, which is, I've never had that. Okay, you guys are always really good about using just your coordinates, so I'm going to give you a trick. Okay? When you reflect over the x-axis, in your point, the y-coordinate changes. When you go over the x-axis, the y changes. So guess what the other sentence is going to say? When you reflect over the y-axis, the x-coordinate changes. Okay? So first things first, go plot these points and label them. Start at 0, 0. Go plot P, Q, and R. Reminder. X comma Y. X tells you to go left or right. Y tells you to go up or down.
Since we're trying to get past the y, do we go like later the y?
Don't worry about reflecting it right now. Just plot those points. We're just trying to get the originals on this one. On the second column, we just plotted these points. Okay. So you haven't missed much. All right, everybody double check. Does your triangle look like mine? And you have your points labeled? Make sure you label your points. Okay, we have to read in that problem, which axis are we going over? The y-axis. Okay, look, your graph is labeled here, correct? Okay, Haley, here's where we're going to go over the y, okay? Put your pencil on P. Everybody put your pencil on P. How far away from that y-axis is P? 1. So now I have to step on the other side, how far? 1. And then what am I going to call that? P prime. Put your pencil on Q. How many steps to get to the y-axis? 3. So go on the other side and label it Q prime. Go down, way down here to R. How many steps away? 4, right? Go 4 on the other side. Label it R prime. R prime. Do your triangles look very similar? Same shape, same size, just flipped over, right? Okay, now there's 2 ways we can do this. We can look at our graph and write down the coordinates, or we can go use the trick Ms. Hoff just reminded us. When you reflect over the y, you change the x-coordinate to the opposite sign. So let's try this. 1, 5. No, we went over the y-axis, so -1, leave 5. Double check. Is this point at -1, 5? Yes. Q was 3, 7. Careful. -3, 7. Double check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is correct. R was at 4, -1. -4, -1. Don't change the y at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1. You don't have to use that shortcut. You could just look at your graph, but I know many of you would rather use that shortcut. Okay. Let's try another one. Graph this triangle on the bottom. Graph your triangle on the bottom. Make sure you label your points. A little skinny triangle, isn't it? Okay. Now you got to read. Which axis are we going over? X. This one's different than the last one we've done, right? So now we got to talk about how many steps away the points are from that x-axis. So A, how many steps away from the x-axis is it? 1 step. It's 1 step above, so we need to go 1 step below. It becomes A prime. How far up is B? 2. So we go 2 on the other side. 1, 2, B prime. C, how far? 2, 2 on the other side, C prime. I'm going to give you a hint. If you're reflecting something and it doesn't end up on the graph, you've done something wrong. You've got to read carefully whether it's over the x-axis or over the y-axis. Everybody take a minute and write for me your new points. Don't say them out loud. We're going to go over them together. Write your new points. Oops, why did you grab that one? You gotta grab these ones. Yeah, but I want to make sure you have it. No? I'll talk about it later. Sure. Talk to your sister. Finish that first. Now you're trying to find these points. Tell me where A is. Careful. 0 would mean I don't move off that axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I gotta go down 1, right?
So
Negative 1 here. Okay, who's got A prime for me? Bryce. 5, negative 1. You know how I know he's right? We went over the x-axis, so what letter changes? The y. So it was 5, 1, now it's 5, negative 1. Okay? Who's got B? Allison. 1, negative 2. And C, Sam. 6, negative 2. 6, negative 2. Okay? That is it. Do we need more practice? You just want to try it. Okay. You got to know the difference between your x and your y axis. How much do you love Miss Hoff? A lot. Good answer. Because Miss Hoff gave you ones where they're already plotted. All you have to do is pay attention. Is it going over the x-axis or the y-axis? That's not fun? Okay, fine. I'll make a harder one for you. Okay? No, this is the original, and then it's going to tell you which one to go over. Correct. So they've already done like the first one, which is nice because then you know it's graphed correctly to start with. Okay? All right, here we go.